Even before the incursion into Lebanon by Israel, there were concerns in Israel that Hamas had really stretched the Israeli military pretty thinly. The economy in Israel is facing some sharp challenges. There are protests in Israel to bring the hostages home. In your view, to what extent can Israel take on a second front in this war in its north against Hezbollah in Lebanon?
Well, it's all a matter of at what cost. I mean, can it is a bigger question, but it's a matter of at what cost. And I think there's a lot of worrying signs here, especially after Netanyahu last night said something I think that really stood out. It was effectively a warning to the Lebanese people saying, get rid of Hezbollah or you will become like Gaza. And I can't help but feel that today Lebanese are waking up to feeling that this was a threat. And again, it may not have been meant that way, but it surely was perceived that way. And that is really ominous. So it's all about at what cost. I mean, if he is foreboding what happened in Gaza to happen in Lebanon, and we've already had 1 million people displaced in Lebanon. We know that people in Gaza have been displaced many times. I think at this point, 10 times for some people. We're looking at 41,000 dead in Gaza already. Is that the cost? Are we talking about the reality that we have 66% of all buildings in Gaza destroyed? Is that the cost? I mean, it's all has to be part of this broader conversation about Netanyahu has constantly talked about tactics, but has never had a strategy. This is not going to decapitate or bring the end of these organizations. There will be a new leader brought forward. And yes, they've gotten through a number of leaders of Hezbollah, but is Hezbollah over? It's not over. It's a deep, deep organization. I don't think you can say by removing its leader, just like Hassan Nasrallah's previous predecessor who was removed and he came in force, it's just going to continue because there's a core element of this issue, which is they're there to fight the reality that Israel continues an occupation, both in Gaza and in the West Bank. And that is the broader issue at hand that unfortunately no political leaders are investing in, and Netanyahu has a personal political interest in this war continuing, which is the really sad reality.
I gather you're referring to the fact that if the war ends, suddenly he's under charges on corruption, and therefore that process goes forward. Arif, how about you? How do you see this potential second front in a full-blown Middle Eastern war?
Yeah, look, I think Bessma's right. I think Israel is perfectly capable of having a two-front war. The question is the cost. And the question is, will this destroy Hamas and Hezbollah for good? And I think you don't destroy these types of organizations in the war, you actually destroy them in the peace. And what I mean by that is they will not come back. The ideology will fade if in peacetime there's actually a reconstruction and a real change on the ground.
Well, that raises the question about whether there is a partner for peace at the moment.
Well, I think it's very difficult. It's very difficult first because Prime Minister Netanyahu has not laid out his objectives. We know his sort of war-fighting objectives, but we don't know what is expected at the end. And I think that is the problem that Israelis will face, because once the war stops, and I think it will, and I think that there is a timeline for that. I've said previously, I think Prime Minister Netanyahu is trying to establish as many facts on the ground as possible before the November 5th election in the United States. Regardless of who wins, I think Prime Minister Netanyahu wants to have established as much as he can in terms of territory. So I think that's a timeline.
We'll come back to that international angle in a second, the American angle on that, as it were. Let me ask the question from the other side of the coin to you, Jon, and that is, Hezbollah has for about a year been lobbing bombs into northern Israel. It's resulted in 50,000 or more Israelis having to flee from their homes because their government can't ensure their security. What exactly do we expect Israel to do under those circumstances?
Well, it's a good question. I agree with both Bessma and Arif that there's a problem of tactics versus strategy. On the other hand, Israel has to defend its people. The question is, how do they go about doing it? Yes, they had to respond to October 7th. The Americans told them to do it one way. Don't repeat what we did in Iraq and Afghanistan. Targeted, don't alienate the people. In Lebanon, getting rid of, frankly, Nasrallah, who's responsible for assassinating a Lebanese prime minister, for the port explosions, for aiding the Syrian leader in massacring his people, that was not a bad thing. And frankly, you've got a body, a non-state actor with one of the largest militaries in the world, operating in Lebanon as a political party and as a military, while it's actually responding to the needs of Iran. Its whole purpose there was to be a deterrent against any attack that Israel might do on Iran.
How's that going?
This is, yeah, well, we'll see. But I would say one other thing, that your original question of, can Israel handle this? It's not just a two-front war. It's now a potential activity with Iran. The West Bank is potentially exploding.
So a four-front war.
A four-front war. They're also dealing with Hezbollah in Iraq and in Syria, who are attacking. And they've got the Houthis. So,
a seven-front war.
A seven-front war, and as many people say, it's the war within. And as Bessma alluded to, it's dealing with the Palestinian question that is the real threat to Israel.